Hi, and welcome to Ladies of Another View. I'm here today with the beautiful Anne, and I'm Patty.
The beautiful Patty.
Oh, thank you. Later on in the show, I'm so excited to have this author on, Ken Silva. He is the author of the Trump assassination plots and what we need to know, what they haven't told us. That's going to be fascinating. But first, what is also going to be fascinating, as usual, is Dr. Murray Sabrin, who is he's been doing a series, Countdown to 250. And he's also an economist, author, speaker, consultant, was college professor. Welcome back to the show, Murray.
Thanks, great to be with you, Patty and Ann.
Well, I love your series, Countdown to 250, for the 250-year anniversary of America. And you just are a wealth of historical information as well as financial information. But let's talk with the history of the United States. What do you have for us today that you think is a real, what are some of the gems that you've been sharing that we should really celebrate about our country?
Well, I think what was important is 250 years ago, exactly at this time, Thomas Jefferson was busy drafting the Declaration of Independence, and he submitted it to his committee that was composed of several people, including Benjamin Franklin, and they tweaked it for him, and the final product was approved by the Congress on July 2nd, but it wasn't published to the public until July 4th. That's why we celebrate Independence Day on July 4th, even though it could have been July 2nd, or it could have been earlier in the year. For example, May 15th, the Continental Congress said, we are done with Britain. We are going to be independent from Britain. So some people have argued that May 15th of 1776 could be Independence Day. And some people even argued that the Virginia Declaration of Rights, Jefferson's home state, which he used to impart in the Declaration the ideas of individual sovereignty, that people are free and independent, that government is supposed to be instituted to protect people's rights. The government doesn't give us rights, but the government is supposed to protect our rights. And unfortunately, since the Declaration was published and the Constitution was implemented, we've gone from a relatively free nation in 1776 and 1788 to this massive government in Washington, D.C. that's just sucking up resources from the people, supposedly to give us a better life. But that's not what's happening in America right now.
It certainly is not. Well, I have to admit that what I'm hearing is that we should really start back in May celebrating and partying for the Independence Day and celebrating, but with the caveat that we all need to be educated to understand what it is that we're really celebrating. Would you agree?
There's no question about it. I guess if you did a man in the street or a man and woman in the street and you ask people why are we celebrating the July 4th,
Oh, we're freezing up here.
Don't you hate when that happens?
Yeah. So why are you celebrating? I love the man in the street interviews because too often it shows that we don't know history very well in this country. Everything from the Boston Tea Party, and that they're not always teaching history in our schools. But when you do learn about our country, and I celebrate it so often on this show, the fact that we had the American Revolution and that we do have a right to free speech. Sorry, you froze up there on us. And still not back yet. Okay, I don't know what's going on. Why?
Well, apparently it's not cold to be froze there.
He's
not
in
cold
Florida,
enough,
yeah.
But something else is going on. That's okay. We are going to roll with it. But
I think as we talk about this 250 years celebrating, you know, that I know there's issues. Like we talk about our issues all the time. If you watch this show, you know we've got issues that we aren't as free as we would like to be. And here we are. We got Dr. Sabrin back with us. So you were talking before you froze up about that. You know, more government hasn't meant more freedom, and we talk about that a lot. But we can celebrate that we're not the UK or Canada or Australia. It seems like the heavy hand of Britain hasn't served those countries well. So thank goodness for the American Revolution, right, Dr. Sabrin?
Well, this is, I think, the shining moment for Western civilization, where the founders said that we are independent human beings, we're sovereign, and that government has a very limited role in our society. They're not supposed to undermine our free speech, undermine our right of association. And that has been chipped away over the decades by the politicians on both sides of the aisle, or the three sides of the aisle. There aren't been many third-party politicians in Washington. But the point is, we are so far away from, I think, the ideals that Jefferson and his committee put together in the Declaration, that we need to have a reassessment of where America is today. And I just published on Substack where I think the country is going by the 300th anniversary in 2076. And it's not a pretty picture if current trends continue. And if you want, I can explain why this is happening.
Please do, go on.
Well, if you look at social change in America, it takes decades for an idea to be presented, debated, ignored, resurrected, and then get implemented. I'll give you several examples. Prohibition. The idea that government should prohibit alcohol was common, not common, but it was an idea in the early part of the 19th century. Well, it took 100 years for us to get the 18th Amendment, which banned the manufacture and sale of alcohol. So that's one idea. Then we get the idea of the welfare state, which comes about because young economists from America, or young students from America went to study in Prussia, which had a very expansive welfare state. They came back to the United States and started to preach, if you will, not so much in religious institutions, but in high institutions of higher education. And this is where Woodrow Wilson and other Democrats got the idea that we should have a welfare state in America. And so those ideas were germinated in the country. And then in 1895, the Supreme Court knocked down the income tax. 20 years later, we get the 16th Amendment giving us the income tax. And then we can go on. Healthcare. Teddy Roosevelt was a big proponent of national healthcare, which was Harry Truman. Well, we didn't get that till 1965 with Medicare and Medicaid. In 1935, we got Social Security, which has been around since the Progressive period. So it takes decades for these ideas to get bandied about. And then for some reason, there may be a crisis, like during the Great Depression, we get Social Security. There was no crisis in 1965, but after the Kennedy assassination, Johnson was able to get passed through Congress just about all the big social welfare legislation that was on the table when he was a congressman in the 1940s and 30s under Roosevelt. So these ideas take time. So what's happening now? The ideas of socialism are being cemented, if you will, in the minds of a lot of young people, Gen Z and millennials. And I think what's going to happen is that as the baby boomers leave the scene, because the baby boomers in 30 years will be virtually gone, because in 30 years, the oldest baby boomers will be in their 90s or 100. They'll be leaving the scene. And who will be taking political power? It's the Gen Z and the millennials that'll be in their 40s and 50s and 60s. And more of them are believing in socialism as opposed to capitalism, which I don't use that term. I use the term free enterprise, which I think has a much more elegant way of saying people are free to conduct their economic activities, not limited by what the government says we can or cannot do. That's what free enterprise means. It's really the economic component of the Declaration of Independence. So what I wrote in my Substack today is that by 2076, the 300th anniversary of America, we may see an America that looks like Argentina, with big government controlling virtually every aspect of the economy, where government has equity stake in major industries in the economy, where wage and price controls are in effect, and the printing presses are going full steam, and the debt is exploding. It's already exploding right now. So that's why I'm concerned about the next few years and what that may mean for the economy and politically if we get a Democrat who starts implementing these things in 2029, if they win the election in 2028, or in 2033 if they win the election in 2032. So the next 10 years, I think, will be crucial to what the country will look like in 2076.
I love your historical perspective, and especially as you look ahead too. And as an economist, you're looking at what the history of our economy in the United States and where it's headed if we become socialist. We're going to talk a little bit more about that when we come back, so don't go away.
Find your path to discovery, adventure, and inspiration in Lemon, South Dakota. Immerse yourself in the charm and beauty of the region's natural resources. Unearth airs of history. Explore the unique attractions and world-renowned creations. Come see for yourself what makes this community a great getaway and an even greater place to make your home. Whether you're here for a day or for a lifetime, you can find your path in Lemon, South Dakota.
There's never been a better time to rediscover the style, reliability, and all-season, all-terrain fun of the all-new Nissan lineup at the new and improved Ryan Nissan. Whether it's the sleek and stylish Murano, the adventure-ready Pathfinder, or the reimagined, ready-for-anything 2026 Rogue, the all-new Ryan Nissan has the vehicle of your dreams at a price perfect for any budget. It's time to rediscover your passion for the road. It's time to rediscover the all-new Ryan Nissan, engineered to endure.
Yeah, U.S. Cattlemen is a member organization that each member has a vote in anything we do with policy. We're representing the independent cattleman or the cow-calf guy or an independent feeder or whatever. We like to support the independent producer. Talking about mandatory ID, we're talking about cool, we're talking about all the legislation that's going to be coming down with the new administration. There's going to be lots of moving and shaking, so always check us out at our website, uscattleman.org.
Come on in and experience small-town hospitality and the personalized care that makes car buying a pleasure.
We know that every journey starts with the right car. Whether it's school drop-off, weekend road trips, or your daily commute, we have the right vehicle for you and your family.
With trusted brands, affordable prices, and a team that treats you like family, finding your next car has never been so easy.
We pride ourselves on personal attention and quality service. Bassett Motors, where our customers send their friends.
When I first decided to invest in gold, I was a bit nervous and unsure how to start. Luckily, I found Noble Gold Investments. From the very first call, they made investing easy. No pushy sales tactics, no gimmicks, and no confusing free silver offers with hidden fees. Just honest advice tailored to my needs, giving me confidence every step of the way. If you're new to gold investing or want a partner you can trust, visit noblegoldinvestments.com.
Welcome to where classy meets Wild West. Buffalo Gypsy Boutique of Bismarck has clothing, decor, and gifts ranging from sophisticated boho style to fun and flashy. Our exclusive brands such as Scully, Double D Ranch, and Tanner Mark provide standout style for the whole family, right down to the little ones. We always have a great selection of Kimes denim, and we proudly offer American-made jewelry and artwork. Find Buffalo Gypsy classing up North Bismarck just off Highway 83.
Welcome back to Ladies of Another View, and I want to welcome back our guest, Dr. Murray Sabrin, who is an economist. He calls himself the financial truth teller. Plus, he's very good at history, especially when it comes to the economy and how our United States has developed over the years with government, more government, less government. I guess we're getting more and more government and less freedom, that according to Murray, but no one's going to argue with you here. So I want you to tell us about you're looking behind, in the back, you're looking ahead, and you're saying if we're not careful, we are going to be socialists and we're going to lose a lot of our freedom and our economy isn't going to be as healthy as it is now. We won't have the free enterprise. So what I'm wondering is we look at more democratic socialists, is that what they call themselves, getting into office, like in New York, like in this state of Washington, in Seattle. Is there going to be some failed experiences that get people to come to their senses, or what do you think is going to happen?
Well, let's look at the history. In 1971, President Nixon imposed wage price controls in August 1971. Very quickly, shortages showed up in the economy. So wage and price controls have a very adverse consequences on the economy, not only short term, but long term as well. And rent control is a good example of how the housing stock deteriorates because landlords don't get enough return on their capital to fix up their apartments. And I lived in New York City. I saw the impact of rent control firsthand, living in the South Bronx, which was decimated in the 1960s and 70s because of rent control, which was a temporary program from 1943. As Milton Friedman famously said, there's nothing as permanent as a temporary government program. And so if Mamdani does the rent control and freezes, which he already announced, the council just voted 7-1 in New York to impose a freeze on 1 million apartments, and he does government grocery stores, this is going to be a disaster for the people of New York City. And businesses will flee if they can, and people will be flee if they can. And since so many people work remotely, business owners and corporate leaders will have to decide: does it pay to stay in the city, or should we move to more hospitable areas like the Dakotas, like Tennessee, like my state of Florida, the Carolinas, Texas, and other places where businesses are welcome and they're not burdened by the rules and regulations and taxes that New York City, New York State, Illinois, California imposes on them. So I think we're going to see a dynamic over the next several years as these socialist mayors, and I don't call them democratic socialists. You know why, ladies? Because Democrats are socialists. All the democratic socialists are doing is expanding what the Democrats have given us for the past 100 years. The big government programs, Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, and all the other programs are part of the welfare state that the progressives implemented from the 1880 to 1935 and beyond. So again, my look at history is that the Democrats were the Socialist Party. Unfortunately, the Republicans never pushed back during the Eisenhower administration, during the Nixon administration, during the Reagan administration, and here we are with nearly $40 trillion in debt. And when I wrote my first book, Tax-Free 2000, this is the solution. I talk about how to clutter, if you will, the federal government so we have a constitutional budget. Instead, spending has gone up no matter who's in power. And that's why I think this is a fundamental philosophical issue, an ideological issue, a constitutional issue, and it's not a partisan political issue.
I love that you just said that. And you also just went through my 2 questions that I had for you. But so let's go back and talk a little bit more about some of the solutions that you discuss in your book.
Well, I wrote this book in the early 90s. It was published 31 years ago. It's more relevant today than it was back in January 1995 when the book came out, because back then the national debt was $4.8 trillion. We're now nearly at $40 trillion. The interest on the national debt was about $100 billion. Now it's over $1 trillion a year. And Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid have exploded. We have unfunded liabilities. We have endless wars, as we all know, unconstitutional wars since Korea. No war has been declared since December 8th, 1941. And we have a military that is so huge, and it doesn't protect America. We have bases all over the world. The founders would be appalled. George Washington, in his farewell address, gave us the blueprint, the roadmap for a free and independent and safe America. No entangling alliances. And a lot of Republicans before Johnson, such as Senator Robert Taft of Ohio, he was opposed to NATO in the late 1940s. He said, we don't need it. Europe can take care of itself. Russia is the Soviet Union is not as strong as we think it is. And these are the old right Republicans who understood what should be the relationship between the government and the people, including Howard Buffett, the father of Warren Buffett, who was a very conservative libertarian congressman from Nebraska, who was in favor of the gold standard, who said we can't export our Christian ideals to the rest of the world. We need to keep America safe. And that was what the America First movement was all about. Free markets at home, limited government at home, and no entangling alliances.
So as a historian, you've been sharing with us some of the history of the economy and that we've become more and more socialist. And I am wondering, is this going to cave at any point? Because we're seeing some bad examples of governing, businesses leaving Seattle, Starbucks, that started there. It's like they can't handle it. They want the ideology is, oh, they have money, give it to us. Like instead of working and creating, inventions and more products and, capitalism and, creating more businesses, they're like, no, give us that money. So then you don't have that money to reinvest. But then the businesses, why should they have to work so hard just to hand their money over to socialist mayors? And what do you see is happening? Is there hope for us? Can we be like Argentina, like, wait a minute, this isn't working. The pendulum needs to swing the other way.
Well, as we know, one of the deadliest sins is envy. I think we're seeing that right now in the political process, that people are saying, we should tax billionaires, we should tax millionaires, we should tax everybody except us because we are so pure and angelic that we are the vanguard of truth, honesty, and the American way. This is Marxism. You read the 10 planks of the Communist Manifesto, it's so pure Marxism. The solution is for people in Congress to stand up like Congressman Thomas Massey and former Congressman Ron Paul, who was in Congress, who talked about the Constitution, who talked about the limits of government, who talked about free enterprise, and who criticized crony capitalism. Crony capitalism has run amok in our economy, in our political system for decades. This is not a new phenomenon. So we'll go back to the beginning of the Republic, where some wealthy people saw they can get benefits that they couldn't get in the free market by getting some special privilege from the government. So my job as a retired finance professor is to write on Substack, to do my podcast, Health, Wealth, and the Pursuit of Happiness, and to get the ideas out there to as many people as possible, because what's happening right now is not pushing back against the socialists. And because and the irony is that there's some MAGA people who are buying into the socialist view that we've got to raise the minimum wage to $25 an hour or more. We've got to control, quote, big business. All you have got to do is get rid of the privileges of big business, and the problem goes away. Instead, they want more government control in the belief that this is going to make the economy more affordable. Well, the economy is unaffordable for so many people because we have an institution that prints money, not literally, but figuratively through its operations by having an unlimited check account called the Federal Reserve. And it doesn't matter who's there, Powell, Bush, Greenspan, or anyone else, they're still going to print money and cause prices to go up and cause the cycle of boom and bust. I've been writing about this for 50 years, and we're seeing it played out again. And unfortunately, the people in Washington don't want to hear this message. All they want to do is keep their jobs, get elected every 2 years, every 6 years, collect a nice salary, collect the pension, leave, and then get a job in some military industrial complex company and make money that way. This is the corruption in our system that I've seen in my lifetime, and it's been happening throughout American history. So we need to get the message out that freedom and liberty and independence and no entangling lines is the foundation of why we celebrate America.
Amen.
Well, yes, amen to that. And with that, it's time for our next messages, but perfect timing to have you on the show, because I love your message. It's so sensible, and I hope you just keep giving it to us, because I don't know, maybe we need more people listening, right? Because you understand the history. And we don't need to have history get worse. And
thank you so much. And if everyone goes to murraysabrin.substack.com, they can read my piece today. Will there be an America to celebrate on July 4th, 2076?
Okay, I hope so. If people would listen to you, there will be. So we'll be right back after this. Thank you.
US dollars are a fiat system. We live with inflation. We're always going to print more. We're always going to be in debt. We have a debt-based economy, so tangible assets will essentially always go up over time. There's no derailing that trajectory. The main concept to understand, and the biggest difference between something like stocks versus precious metals, is your counterparty risk. When you hold a stock, you are now dependent upon that company to perform, to grow, to act within a legal context, and you are also beholden on how that company, the greater stage to which that company is operating in, macroeconomics. And so that's really been its own bag of snakes over the last 5 years. When you own precious metals, you are not beholden to any institution. There's no controlling body behind it.
Stop out to our facility, Highway 22 South. Let us build a truck for you.
When there's a storm on the horizon, you typically don't get a lot of advance notice. So you brace yourself as best you can and rebuild when it's over. Times like these are what insurance is for, the protection of our livelihoods, our families, our homes, and our lives. We support our community coming together in times of need. As an independent insurance agency, we tailor our services to your needs. At Dakota Community Insurance, we can help you weather the storm. Talk to one of our agents today.
We are the St. Mary Sisters. We are building a new facility here in Bismarck, North Dakota, for the sake of training young women to be courageous teachers in this state. The sisters will educate the younger generation to be fully alive through truth and discipline. The sisters' life of devotion and joy will make a positive difference in your community. Check out what we're up to, see what's going on, and join our mission to make a difference in the lives of the children of North Dakota.
Let's be frank, it's a pain to be without your vehicle after an accident. That's why you should take it to Jerome's Collision Center. Our shop is supersized and we have the qualified staff to fill it up and work on your vehicle, step by step, piece by piece, in crazy fast time without sacrificing quality. When you need us, we'll turn your bad experience into a good one. We're Jerome's Collision Center and we're the best at what we do.
Welcome back to Ladies of Another View, and I am so excited about this guest, author Ken Silva, who is the author of The Trump Assassination Plots, What the Investigation Missed and Why It Matters, and Ann and I have been reading that book. Welcome to the show, Ken.
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, I'm going to have you on again next month because the anniversary is coming up, July 13th, of when the assassination attempt was made in Butler, Pennsylvania. It's been 2 years, hard to believe, but it's amazing. I was just telling you before we went on, I am very, very impressed with the amount of information and research that you have done, full of footnotes to say what the sources are. Why did you write this book to begin with?
Well, I've been a full-time reporter for nearly 15 years, but the vast majority of that was doing local news. I didn't join kind of like the conservative / alternative media ecosphere until late 2021. So, I had missed Russiagate, COVID, January 6th, the 2020 elections, all these stories that came to define, most of the 2020s in terms of the political landscape. I've covered them, but I was a little bit behind. So when Trump was shot in Butler in July 2024, I just knew immediately that this would be a mega story. I wanted to latch on to it and kind of being the lead reporter. And yeah, the result is almost 2 years later, we've got a book. I think I've accomplished my goals, but bizarrely, I haven't had much competition. It seems like it disappeared after about a week from the mainstream news cycle.
So my question is, why do you think that is? Why is there such a push, even by the FBI and other journalistic, coverage? Why is everything just completely settled? It seems like very, very strange to me.
That's a great question, and I've been mulling that myself. I really don't know. In terms of the mainstream media, it's obviously politically inconvenient for them, so it's understandable there. After January 6th, they beamed, the show trials and everything like that for 3 to 4 years into all of our televisions. And then when this happens, they really just don't want to give it much air. They don't want to make Trump seem like a hero or a victim. It was in the midst of a busy campaign season. But the more stranger thing is the lack of interest from conservative media. And as you mentioned, the FBI itself. There's been kind of a spat online. Maybe some people have heard about it, where Tucker Carlson recently said that, well, Trump himself shut down the investigation. Former FBI Deputy Director Dan Bongino really clapped back at Carlson and said, no, he's a liar. Trump is satisfied with the investigation. Trust us. The would-be assassin, he's just a crazy guy, a lone wolf. There's nothing else to see there. But I went back and looked at the timeline of events, and Dan Bongino took office March 17th, 2025. And within weeks, he's going on a media tour saying, yeah, Crooks acted alone and, the case is pretty much closed. which tells you that he didn't actually investigate it himself. He's relying on the previous FBI's findings. You know, why that is, again, it's really mysterious. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, a lot to speculate on there, I think.
Well, Dan Bongino, you assumed he was on Trump's side, that he was going to, you know, look and not let the deep state give us the false narrative. We couldn't help but think they're responsible, like that it was an inside job and they want to get rid of Trump. And we know for sure on the left media, whether they were celebrating or what, if the left was involved in any way, we know it was inconvenient because he came up triumphant and people were like, wow, this guy is amazing. He's like a superhero. He comes up and he's, you know, bleeding and he just got shot at, and yet he keeps on going. And that's the kind of leader we want. So inconvenient for sure, but you're looking at the transcripts. You looked at 50 different transcripts, and I'm amazed because you have to read through all that, and then it is a very coherent narrative as you write it together, and you talk about as they're getting ready, the security, the behind the scenes between the local police and the FBI, the CIA, all the different roles, and then there was somebody from the tobacco and firearms. Like, where is he from? We didn't know anybody was supposed to be here from that department, and then they didn't ask any questions. Kind of, what do you find in that? Let's go look at that first chapter when everything's starting to come together, and what should have happened instead of what did happen.
Yeah, well, I think most people remember Butler, the infamous slope roof excuse, where the former Secret Service director, Kimberly Cheeto, said we didn't have snipers posted on that rooftop that was used by the shooter because it was, quote, too sloped, which obviously was ridiculous. She later retracted that. She resigned in disgrace. That's just the absurdity of it is, I think, why everybody remembers that. But the big scandal that I really focus on in the book is the fact that the Secret Service really didn't do anything that day, including they didn't even nullify the shooter. It was actually a local cop on the ground who returned fire first. So the would-be assassin Thomas Crooks, he got off 8 shots in 5 seconds. Immediately after that 8th shot, a local cop from the ground returns fire, disables the shooter, and then it's 10 whole seconds later that the Secret Service puts that final bullet through him. So when you talk about a potential for an inside job, I have grave concerns about, did they actually tell the Secret Service sniper to let the kid get off a shot, before he responded? And the reason I say that is because these congressional transcripts that you referenced, they show that he actually lied about it afterwards as well. He initially told Congress that, well, the reason I took so long to return fire was because I didn't even see the kid on the roof until he had stopped shooting. And then the Senate Homeland Security Committee, some staffer obtained the sniper's own notes, which say that he saw the kid crawling into position with a rifle before the shooting started. So the staffer presses the sniper saying, your own notes contradicts what you're telling us, that you didn't see him until after the shooting had ceased. And the sniper insists that his notes are actually inaccurate and his testimony is what we can rely on. But to me, that's pretty dubious. I do think his notes are probably more accurate. And maybe it's the case that he's lying because he wants to cover his own behind. Trump thinks he's a hero and he doesn't want to admit that he waited so long. But any way you slice it, it is a major scandal that really nobody's focusing on.
Well, I think it's difficult for people to ascertain what's really happening, and there's so many different scenarios being thrown out there that people tend to just sort of back off. So that's why I think your book is really critically important for people who need to get down to the evidence and find out the root and the reality so that they can determine, a better informed decision on what they think is really happening here. I mean, there are several different things for us to discuss and go over, including, different plans involving reportedly the Iranian government.
Yeah, and so the thing about the Iranian government, the threats emanating from there, is that Trump's detail was briefed about this the week before the event, the head of his security detail, Sean Curran, goes to the FBI HQ, talks to FBI officials about some guy who entered the country who was supposedly working on behalf of Iran. And because of that, they sent the Secret Service snipers to Butler to guard Trump. This is the first time Trump had Secret Service sniper protection in his 2024 campaign. Typically, it's local snipers doing the job. And in fact, it's actually the first time in history that a former president had Secret Service sniper protection. And again, these are the same guys that waited 15 seconds to return fire. The other thing that's worth noting is that so Trump's detail gets briefed on this Iranian threat, but they never pass that intelligence to the Pittsburgh field office, which, you know, regardless of the credibility of the threat, it would have been like a heightened environment. Everybody would have been on their toes if they knew about this intelligence of an Iranian threat. And now to top it off, the guy who was briefed, Sean Curran, has since been promoted to be the director of the entire Secret Service. And he's actually blocking a DHS Inspector General's investigation into how the intelligence was passed or not passed between the respective agents. So it's pretty troubling that the guy who, A, didn't pass along the intelligence of the Iranian threat, and B, he's pretty much responsible for all the failures. He's the head of Trump's detail, and now he's gotten promoted. Like, at the very least, it's perverse incentives.
Confusing and a little scary. So we're going to talk a little bit more about this after these messages. Don't go away.
You know the rule. No phones at the dinner table.
I know, I'm sorry. It's just Noble Gold Investments. I bought some gold for the kids.
Finally.
Well, the gold you bought me gives me so much security in this economic disaster we're having. I want that for them too.
Well, I've been investing with Noble Gold Investments for years, and I'm pretty sure they can wait until after lunch.
Invest in something you can hold. Invest in Noble Gold. Visit noblegoldinvestments.com to learn more.
West River Equipment of Mandan is here to help you maintain peak productivity in your operation. As an authorized dealer for many high-quality equipment lines, we have the new and used equipment it takes to make your farming, ranching, or construction operation profitable and efficient. West River Equipment also has the parts on hand and the experienced technicians in our shop to get your equipment back in action fast. Find what you need at West River Equipment on Old Red Trail in Mandan.
Find relief for what ails you at Steep Me Tea Apothecary. Teas, supplements, tinctures, and more. Formulated to fight whatever has you down. We're Bismarck Mandan's favorite place to find delicious, natural, and easy ways to alleviate symptoms brought on by anything from colds to cancer. Brew a better you at Steep Me Tea Apothecary. Steep Me products may cause side effects, including but not limited to improved mood, deeper sleep, enhanced hydration, renewed sense of smell, increased energy levels, superior balance, boosted immunity, proper digestion, restored sense of calm, and a delightful smelling home.
Welcome to Radiant Retreat Tanning and Spa in Mandan, where a relaxing spa experience meets the latest in healing innovations. Take total control of your massage in our Hydro Massage Bed. Experience whole body healing in our Zero Body Cryo Bed. Let our salt sauna and halo generator restore your respiratory and skin health. And of course, tailored tanning will keep you looking as good as you feel. Discover your best self at Radiant Retreat, 1307 1st Street Northeast, Mandan.
We're from North Dakota, where 12,000 workers bring electricity to 2 million customers and provide over $5 billion in economic activity to the state, while reclaiming 22,000 acres of land. This is coal country.
Welcome back to Ladies of Another View, and I want to welcome back our guest, Ken Silva, the author of The Trump Assassination Plots, What the Investigation Missed and Why It Matters. I'm so glad we're going to have Ken on again next month because we're just scratching the surface here. And I know our audience feels that way, like, no, don't let him go. We got to hear more. And so we decided with the remaining segment, we're going to talk about the shooter. What would Thomas Cooks, what do we know about the shooter? Because, I don't know, kind of suspicious. How did he get in there, set up, shot at the president, and then he gets killed and cremated a short time later? What do we know about him?
Yeah, disturbingly not much. So after the event, Congress formed this special task force promising to get to the bottom of what happened in terms of the security failures that we discussed on the last segment, as well as the shooter's motivations and possibly, did he have any accomplices, anybody who radicalized him? Well, Congress did an okay job investigating the Secret Service failures, but they didn't get any information on the shooter, Thomas Crooks, and they pretty much took a no for an answer from the FBI. Like, they had subpoena power. They could have forced the FBI to provide information, but they, as Congress does, it just elected to take no for an answer. So most of the information about Thomas Crooks we have is his public profile. He, by all accounts, publicly, he seemed, frankly, almost like the kid you'd want to have for your son. He was like a straight A student, graduated community college in May 2024 with an associate's degree in engineering, was planning to go to Robert Morris University in the fall. One of his last projects was to 3D print a chessboard and a Rubik's Cube that were inscribed with Braille, and his mother was legally blind. So it kind of seems like a sweet thing that you would do for your family. And I obtained his community college emails, and as late as June 14th, 2024, he was making plans, as I said, to go to the four-year university in the fall. He was emailing his faculty saying, I need my diploma, I need proof of graduation. So less than a month later, he winds up dead on a roof. It's just very bizarre. And I think what probably was going on here is he's almost leading a double life online, because we do have some social media comments that he made in 2019, 2020. Again, he's only 16 at the time. It's 4 years before the shooting, but he's openly commenting on YouTube videos about assassinating politicians, bombing federal buildings, doing other acts of terrorism. So this, for one thing, it tells you is that he had to have been flagged to law enforcement in some capacity. You don't get to discuss these illegal acts on a platform like YouTube without you getting flagged to the feds. But B, it also kind of gives you a little bit of the profile of what he might have been like online, where a lot of these kids that are into these subjects, they wind up on these fringe online chat rooms that are also inhabited by federal provocateurs and other bad actors. And the type of kid that he was seems like someone who would be easily manipulated, easily susceptible to being convinced to do something as foolish as trying to take out Trump. Again, we don't have absolute confirmation of this. We don't have any social media data from him in the last 3 to 4 years of his life. But he kind of fits a certain profile.
Yeah, and the other shooter, or the other attempted shooter, Ryan Ruth, in a different incident at the golf course in Florida, it says, or tell me if I'm wrong here in any way, Trump made his golf plans at the last minute around 2 p.m. on September 15th, and Ruth arrived at the golf course far before that he camped there for like 11 hours. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's almost spot on. So the Secret Service was informed that Trump was going to go golf later that day at 2 a.m. And then like 30 minutes later, Ryan Ruth shows up at the golf course, and he's camping there for almost 11 hours before Trump's on the 5th hole. The Secret Service spots him on the 6th hole, and then an agent shoots at him 5 times, misses all 5 times. Ruth runs off, and he gets caught about 45 minutes later in another county. He's pulled over on the I-95. But as you're referencing, it can't be a coincidence. It raises questions to me as whether there was a security leak where Trump tells the Secret Service at 2 a.m., I want to go golfing. And then Ruth, who had been camping at a truck stop, shows up to the golf course almost around that exact same time. Furthermore, the spot he was hiding at is used by like paparazzi photographers to hide and photograph Trump. You know, that might be a well-known, almost open secret within the journalism industry in the Palm Beach area. But Ryan Ruth is a guy who had been living in Hawaii. He's from North Carolina. How did he know that that was the exact spot where he would have gotten a clear shot at Trump? Again, very troubling questions, not to mention the background of Ruth himself. I mean, this is the guy who was in Ukraine recruiting Syrians and Afghan war veterans to fight against Russia. He gets flagged to the CIA, the FBI, DHS, at least 7 different agencies were all aware of this guy, but somehow he's able to operate with impunity and almost get a shot off at the president less than about 2 months after Butler. I mean, it's just really incredible.
Yeah, everything you just said, that alone, all those facts should be clear. There's no way this was a coincidence. He was already on the CIA's, you know, everybody should have known about him. They did know about him. And there's no coincidence that right when he makes that decision to go golfing, who shows up in the place, the secret hiding place that somebody wouldn't know, you know, your average person wouldn't know. So everything you just said, you're a smart guy, you're good at investigation. Where's the government investigation? Where's the FBI in all of this? Why aren't they connecting the dots? That on one hand, they're getting this guy, they find him at a truck stop, but on the other hand, who gave him this information to begin with? It almost seems like you got different players going on here within the Secret Service, people really doing their jobs, and somebody that, I mean, there are some bad actors there. It's just got to be.
And I think that brings us back to our original discussion. Why is even Trump's FBI not really disclosing these details? Well, Trump himself, when he first took office, he was raising questions. You know, he was raising questions about how does Thomas Crooks's family, they've hired these white shoe lawyers that would work for like IBM. He's asking how could they afford them. He's asking about Ryan Ruth. He's talking about, you know, what Ryan was in Ukraine doing borderline illegal things. How was he able to operate with impunity? And then, but by last May, he goes totally silent. So just speculating, I almost wonder if they told him to be quiet. Maybe they're even threatening his family or something like that, but they might have stumbled on a scandal that would be too ruinous to the FBI to make public. They might be saying, you know, Mr. President, we are monitoring Thomas Crooks and Ryan Ruth. We missed them. If this goes public, it could be to the end of the FBI and you have to be quiet about it. And maybe Trump's playing ball. I mean, we talked during the commercial about the JFK shooting. And of course, Nixon himself had questions about the JFK shooting. Reportedly, he was asking about it behind the scenes, but he never went public with his suspicions. Perhaps good for the best for the country, so there isn't like an uprising. And it's only speculative, but maybe Trump's doing something similar.
Well, Ken, I'm glad you're coming on next month because I have a lot more questions. But if you have questions, get the book, The Trump Assassination Plots. What the investigation missed and why it matters. And you can see just from our conversation, they missed a lot, and gosh, it matters. It matters for this country. So thank you, Ken, for being on, and I'm looking forward to talking to you again in July.
My pleasure. Thanks again for having me.
And when we come back for the lighter side, I just came across just an uplifting story of a guy who, when you're picking teams, you know how it is, and he decided to pick all the kids that get picked last, and he had so much fun. Coming up.
There's never been a better time to rediscover the style, reliability, and all-season, all-terrain fun of the all-new Nissan lineup at the new and improved Ryan Nissan. Whether it's the sleek and stylish Murano, the adventure-ready Pathfinder, or the reimagined, ready-for-anything 2026 Rogue, the all-new Ryan Nissan has the vehicle of your dreams at a price perfect for any budget. It's time to rediscover your passion for the road. It's time to rediscover the all-new Ryan Nissan, engineered to endure.
Are you dealing with arthritis, nerve and back pain, dry skin, or superficial wounds, but found no relief? Give Stewart's Natural Health a try. For over 4 decades, Stewart's Natural Health has been helping people and animals with herbal and natural oil lotions, ointments, and creams with a mission to help you relieve pain and feel your best using the power of nature. Discover the safe, drug-free solution to your pain, guaranteed or your money back. Visit stewartsnatural.health today.
Welcome to where classy meets Wild West. Buffalo Gypsy Boutique of Bismarck has clothing, decor, and gifts ranging from sophisticated boho style to fun and flashy. Our exclusive brands such as Scully, Double D Ranch, and Tanner Mark provide standout style for the whole family, right down to the little ones. We always have a great selection of Kimes denim, and we proudly offer American-made jewelry and artwork. Find Buffalo Gypsy classing up North Bismarck just off Highway 83.
West River Equipment of Mandan is here to help you maintain peak productivity in your operation. As an authorized dealer for many high-quality equipment lines, we have the new and used equipment it takes to make your farming, ranching, or construction operation profitable and efficient. West River Equipment also has the parts on hand and the experienced technicians in our shop to get your equipment back in action fast. Find what you need at West River Equipment on Old Red Trail in Mandan.
Welcome to Arrowhead Cleaners. Newly renovated, modernized, and ready to make your cleaning needs hassle-free. From commercial and residential wash and fold laundry services to the latest in professional dry cleaning techniques, we are dedicated to your unique needs, offering alterations, fabrications, and even custom hat making. So whether you're a busy professional, a family on the go, or even a rodeo champion, Arrowhead Cleaners is here to take your things from messed up to dressed up. Now celebrating our 64th year in Arrowhead Plaza.
Ashley, North Dakota is where life moves a little slower, but never gets dull. From hunting, camping, and fishing to safe streets where kids can be kids, this is the best of small town living. And Ashley offers everything you need, from healthcare to hardware to countless ways to stay active. Here, we've invested in our future with major upgrades to roads, parks, and education. Whether you're here for the day or here for life, you'll find Ashley's where you ought to be.
Welcome back to Ladies of Another View. It's time for the lighter side, and here's a guy who I'm going to let him tell his story. So watch this.
When I was 14, I had an experience that completely changed the way that I treat people for the rest of my life. I remember I was in gym class, and my teacher had chosen me to be one of the captains to pick teams for basketball. And I remember I was getting ready to make my pick, and I was standing up in front of everyone. And before I did, I saw this girl that was sitting in the back of the class. And she usually got picked last. She was a little bit heavier set, wasn't really super coordinated, wasn't really into sports, which is fine. And I called her name. And I remember she looked up and she's like, "Me?" And I remember my friend leaned over, he's like, "Why did you pick her?" And I was just like, "Why not?" And so she was like, "Me?" And I was like, "Yeah." And so she stood up and she came and stood by me, and she was right behind me. And I remember she was kind of standing behind me. I'm like, "No, stand right next to me. You're on my team." And she stood next to me. And I remember my friend, he was getting ready to pick whoever he was going to pick. And I remember she whispered something in my ear that I'll never forget. And she leaned over and she said, "Are you sure?" And it kind of hit me. I was like, and I looked over at her and I said, "Absolutely." And then I remember from that point, I picked all of the kids that usually didn't get picked, or they were picked very last. And I remember that gym class was one of the most fun gym classes I've ever had in my life, because I remember it wasn't about, trying to prove something or having your friends and, competing or anything like that. It was seriously about just having fun and including people. And I remember it was so fun. And I didn't shoot one time. I was just passing the ball the whole time, and it was so fun. And I remember, after the class is over, it's whatever. But I remember graduating high school, and I remember sitting there, and the girl, after we had graduated, came over and she grabbed my arm. after we graduated, she grabbed my arm and she looked at me and she said, "Oliver, I still remember when you picked me first when in basketball in 9th grade." And I was like, "Really?" I'm like, "I remember that too." And she's like, "That was the only time I was picked first for anything in school." And that hit me really hard. And the reason I share this story is to hopefully inspire someone who's seeing this to be kind and to be aware of the people around you. And it takes so little to be kind to someone. But it makes such a big impact on them. Include people. And that's what the world's about. It's about including people and being kind to them. So I hope this inspires someone who sees it. So
build people up.
Include people. We adults, how often do you go to an event and you go sit with your friends and you don't notice somebody who doesn't have anyone to sit with? We can all be kind in different ways, just like this guy was.
Yeah, it doesn't take that much, but it's amazing how much it can do in someone's life, just to see them and just to make an effort to engage.
Right, instead of just thinking about yourself all the time. Because I know a lot of times we get into our cliques, and it's okay. We like to enjoy being with our friends. But like if you're in a social situation, like look around. Are there people maybe new to the area, don't know anybody, people that just maybe struggle a little bit more socially, and think about sitting with them instead.
Absolutely. Look how you can be a comfort to other people.
Yeah, like Ann and I, we like to sit together all the time, right?
Yes.
We're helping each other out. But yeah, I like stories like that. And like the previous show we did last week, talked about how it actually helps your DNA, and that blood test shows that it reduces inflammation. So I want to just keep this message going, that being kind isn't just about them, it's about you too. You're going to feel better about yourself.
It's really the best thing you can do for yourself, is to get outside of yourself.
Yeah, 100%. That's the best way to be happy. So thank you. You make us happy. We're glad to be here for you, and we'll be back next time with Ladies of Another View on BEK.
Ashley, North Dakota is where life moves a little slower, but never gets dull. From hunting, camping, and fishing to safe streets where kids can be kids, this is the best of small town living. And Ashley offers everything you need, from healthcare to hardware to countless ways to stay active. Here, we've invested in our future with major upgrades to roads, parks, and education. Whether you're here for the day or here for life, you'll find Ashley's where you ought to be.
We are the St. Mary Sisters. We are building a new facility here in Bismarck, North Dakota, for the sake of training young women to be courageous teachers in this state. The sisters will educate the younger generation to be fully alive through truth and discipline. The sisters' life of devotion and joy will make a positive difference in your community. Check out what we're up to, see what's going on, and join our mission to make a difference in the lives of the children of North Dakota.
I'm Gary Ameneth, host of Open Range. We've been at this for the past couple years. Representative Matt Heilman of Bismarck and former legislator Brandon Pritchard are going to do some regular segments on Open Range. While we cover a lot of politics, we're still going to be continue doing mostly all things North Dakota. One exception, Friday evening, I'll be doing a new show on Open Range called On the Horn. This show will be long interviews of 3 to 5 hours with the people I'm interviewing. They'll be airing week after week on that Friday evening. So thank you for being a part of the BEK TV and Open Range family.
Come on in and experience small town hospitality and the personalized care that makes car buying a pleasure.
We know that every journey starts with the right car. Whether it's school drop-off, weekend road trips, or your daily commute, we have the right vehicle for you and your family.
With trusted brands, affordable prices, and a team that treats you like family, finding your next car has never been so easy.
We pride ourselves on personal attention and quality service. Beset Motors, where our customers send their friends.
Hey y'all, it's Trent on the loose. I want to tell you, Lady Blue and I, we got a lot of miles together, but you know what? You and I got a lot of miles together as well. And all I want to do is bring to you the information on how we maintain a domestic supply of food and fuel for future generations. So I'm going to continue to travel the world and unearth the stories that make it possible that we can live in a free United States of America.
I'm Corey Heppola, and a long time ago I left my small town for a big city. Now I wonder, what would it be like to move rural?
Just because we're small doesn't mean we can't have nice things.
This is my town.
Man, it's mad love up in here.
Sunday night, 6:30 on BEK TV.